Walking yesterday. Oh, he's out.
Right, you ready? All right, thank you, everybody. Tonight is the regular monthly meeting of the Clinton Inland Wetlands Commission. Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, time is 7:00 p.m. Sherry, could you call roll for tonight?
Lawrence Edwards,
Here.
Edward Alvarino,
Here.
Michael Florio,
Here.
Thomas Welch,
Here.
Robert Corson,
Here.
Christopher Horvath,
Here.
Scott Harley,
Here.
Douglas Elliott.
Here.
So a couple of house cleaning items. So we got to review and approve the minutes from a regular monthly meeting as well as the site walk. So I know a couple commission members weren't able to make it to the site walk, so why don't we do these in two motions? So the first one, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from our regular monthly meeting in February.
I'll make a motion, we approve the meeting.
Okay,
Tom?
any discussion on the minutes? All right, all those voting in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Okay, and then the site walk, so that was from February 22nd. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Okay, Chris, second.
I'll second.
Tom, seconds. Any discussions? All those voting in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain?
I abstain.
Larry abstains. Okay, on to item agenda number 3. So receipt of applications and set a site walk. We're looking at first IWC 25-4. This is 9 Ironworks Road, lot number 2. Michael Harkin is the applicant and agent. Paul and Kristen Andrews are the owners. This is for an application for activity within 50 feet of an inland wetlands or a water course. It's for new single-family residence and apartment structures, including grading. It's going to be Assessor's Map 51, Block 39, Lot 63 in the Zone R80. I'm Mr. Harkin.
How you doing today?
Good. You want to give just quick, kind of, I see you brought something, you want
Sure,
to
and
do
if you want me to, I was just here to make sure that we set the site walk on a date that I was gonna be here.
okay, I mean, you don't really need to give a real big presentation, but just a real quick
Yeah,
summary of
just
what you're planning to do.
Real brief show everybody. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Harkin, I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering, located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Killingworth, Connecticut. Here tonight again for the Andrews residence, located at 9 Ironworks Road. This is actually lot 2. It's a large scale lot. It's approximately, I'm just gonna put this up here, it's approximately almost 5 acres, it's 4.93 acres. You can see it's got frontage on Ironworks. There's a wetlands pocket here. You can see it's pretty deep. Supposedly that was actually done when they actually were building the highway, and it's beautiful sand and gravel there, so they, rumor has it that they had dug that out. But what we're proposing is a small house, 3-bedroom, as far away from the wetlands as possible. The driveway again off Ironworks, we have stormwater management system, and then we have the septic system, really in the only location it can go in the front of the slot. The reason we're here tonight, besides the septic system, is we have a foundation drain outlet that has to discharge. Due to the elevation difference, we're discharging it out adjacent to that wetland area. And we already have health department approval for this. And you'll see on your sidewalk when we go out there, this area is not like a pristine wooded lot, it's actually mowed all the way up to that rock wall there. And we're not proposing to go any further than the rock wall with this project.
Any questions?
How large is the septic? Probably.
I believe it's 49 feet, almost 50 feet away from the edge.
And the discharge is for the house property?
The discharge is for the foundation drains. This proposed house is up high, the elevation difference, you can see there's basically slopes down in. So in order to get the foundation drain to drain out, we have to bring it
So
down.
that's natural water going into there.
Correct, it's clean water, yes, sir. And any of the roof leader runoff goes into the underground system.
And the health department's approved the septic being that close. Where's the leaching fields?
So the leaching fields are right there, that was the question, we're about 49 feet from the
Okay.
wetlands, we do have health department approval for it.
Lady or Mike, any questions before we set a site walk date?
No,
So we'll need a motion to accept the application and set a site walk.
We do Thursday, what we have daylight.
That's right, daylight savings is back this month, unfortunately.
This week. maybe.
So it opens up Thursdays. Is everyone okay doing Thursday evening,
We usually do 6 or 5:30, whatever's good for everybody.
6 o'clock Thursday is okay?
It's 12 until 7.
Okay. Mr. Harkin, is that
Yeah,
what for you?
Thursday, the
This,
13th.
this Thursday.
I will
So
be
what-
available for that. Not for me, I won't be there,
On the 13th?
I'll be gone for a week.
Oh, okay. Do we want to do it the 20th? Or do you, are you?
Yeah, because I think I have a meeting this Thursday anyways, in the office.
So why don't we do Thursday, the 20th, 6 P M with the rain date 27th, the following
I've got
Thursday?
an appointment for doctors. As long as I'm, it's only at 2 o'clock,
Okay.
but I don't know if they're gonna stick me with a needle or anything.
Well, if you can't make it, you can
Yeah.
always contact Kathy.
Yeah.
So I just got that appointment.
Okay.
So are we saying Thursday, March 20th, Mr. Chairman?
Yep,
I can
20th.
make it as long as I'm, able physically.
Yep, so Thursday, March 20th, 6 P M with the rain date, the 27th, same time.
And that
Okay.
is in that killing work, or is that?
No,
no.
it's 9 ironwork. Sherry will be sending out an agenda, so you'll get it from her before the meeting, so you'll know the date and time and address.
6. I guess I'll need a motion to accept the application and set a sidewalk date. Bob moved, second Tom.
Yep.
Any discussion? All those voting in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone? Okay, great,
Right,
thank you,
guys,
Mr.
thank you so
Harkin.
much. See you in the morning.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, so item agenda number 4, this is a continuation of a public hearing. This is IWC 24-7, 9 Van Dyke Lane. Thomas Stevens, P E is the applicant, Robert Anderson is the owner. For activity within 50 feet of an inland wetlands or a water course. 3-bedroom residence and appurtenant structures, proposed reserve for sanitary septic system, rain garden in the wetlands. Accessors map 4, block 1, lot V-9 in the zone R80. And at said hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard and written communications received. The applications and accompanying maps are available for public inspection in the town's website. Dated this day of Connecticut, March 4th. You're up.
Chuck Mandel, agent for the applicant, Robert Anderson. So last time we were here, we had some comments from the town engineer, from staff, and from the other environmental analysts. We revised the plans, we did test pits in the rain garden area. We also revised the rain garden, we addressed the comments, we applied for a flood zone permit, we did an elevation certificate, pre-approval. We'll have to do one after the fact. These are the new plans. Yeah, you want to share them with yeah, so.
Stop, listen now, stop. I got the meeting. Because these were not.
Kathy,
I just said, this was not presented to us within 15 days before, which is in
Yep.
regulation, so I recommended continuation.
Well-
Our town engineer and town soil scientist did not review this, and it's a very different plan from the original plan. It wasn't the approved plan from 2000. And this is the third time or second time it's been changed, and was that less than 15 days before the meeting. So it's, we can't approve it tonight. We don't have the information. It wasn't fair to the consultants.
I did speak to attorney Mark Brands.
Okay,
You can receive it, you can act on it. It's just that it hasn't, there's any input from the public, just that the public didn't review it, doesn't mean the commission cannot act on it.
right, but Chuck, the regulations state that the paperwork has to be submitted 15 days before. It was 6 days before, and it's a different plan than the one that was approved in 2000. So that approval doesn't stand in this instance. It's a different plan. So what was approved in 2000 is not this.
I wasn't talking about you.
Right, but you keep referring to that as it's an
Well, I'm just
automatic
saying,
thing
I
because the
didn't
town
mention it.
approved it. Right, but you have in previous meetings. I'm just stating for the record so the commission understands, this isn't the same plan. So it doesn't have to be approved by the attorney because it's a different plan than what was approved.
Okay, that said. This plan that you have before you is actually less than what was approved 2010. The septic system, we moved it out of the wetlands, which the previous approval had the septic system in the wetlands. We moved the septic system as far away from the wetlands as possible. We had it reapproved by Craig, based on Kathy's input, so we went to Craig and they sent an email, and I quote, it says, "Is all set for revisions," and I have that email. We addressed the comments from CHA, and I'll go over them if we want, if I'll actually go over those. The design parameters for the rain garden are now in there. We also have the stormwater volume and the water quality volume addressed in the plan. We did test pits in the system area. We also wanted a cross section of the median that's gonna be in the rain garden, so if you shoot two. We have a cross section of the bioretention soil media within there, you can see the cross section in the bottom left. So we're addressing that. His concern was reject the groundwater, so we're 2 feet above existing groundwater based on the newest estimate. And I did ask for a waiver of regulations, 7.4D. I could go through them, but it's all part of the record. Most of it was the pH, alkalinity, soil level, turbidity, parts per million, bacteria count, habitat value of affected property of wildlife species. This was all addressed in the 2010 report. I know Kathy doesn't want to hear it, but it was done by Rich Snarsky and also by Bob Russo, certified recently. There's a deeded conservation easement. So back in 2010, the approval said they needed a deeded conservation easement. Well, that's already recorded in the land records and that's reflected on these plans. So they can't violate that area within there. So there is really nothing that we did not address on this plan, even though the town, she sent it back to the town engineer. If there is a change, it would be de minimis. It would only affect maybe the shape of the rain garden, which is all contained outside the house in the rain garden is as far to the east as you can get it, without being on the other property. So, and we can size that differently, if that's a comment by the town engineer. So I think any conditions that the town engineer has, we can change those without materially affecting the plan.
Chuck, the thing is though, our town engineer requested more time to review it. I said
No,
that to you now. So
Kathy,
to say-
can I finish my
No, but you're
presentation?
saying
Can I
all of
finish?
his comments have been addressed. They have not, because he has not changed.
I'm not-
the review.
Kathy, can I?
Well, I know, but you're
I would
saying
like
things
to, I
that
would
I
like
would
to
say.
finish my,
Okay,
I would like to
fine.
finish my presentation and then you can comment after I'm done. I appreciate that. Can I have my time? We've addressed the town engineer's comments, but no, he has not looked at them. All I'm saying is that based on his comments, we've revised them from an engineering standpoint, we've addressed his comments, and if it changed it materially, we come back again. But I don't think the changes are gonna be de minimis on this plan. Won't affect the plan at all. I believe we addressed them. And I don't see why another month of coming back here again, if we change the line 2 feet or 3 feet, or the air, or there's another volume, another cubic foot of fill, you're not gonna change the plans. The plans you keep before you, whether they have comments or not, are not gonna change. And I just keep delaying this thing and adding cost. I mean, they want a revised, cost. What this is gonna cost now to check the revisions on this plan. So my client has to spend another grant. I don't know what he's gonna spend. We haven't had the money yet. So anyway, I would ask for approval tonight based on, and I'll go over these changes if you wish. And I can grant an extension if you're gonna deny this project based on that, but I don't see any reason to belabor this. It's a waste of everyone's time.
I, as a seat in the commission, would have to, have a decision between Scott and Kathy.
Well, we don't
As
have,
far as.
Well, so why don't, before we talk about that, can you summarize what has changed since last month's plan and this month's plan, and give us a kind of highlight, because even me,
Do you have last month's plan?
it looks,
I do it here. I do.
I do.
it looks
well,
Yeah.
I have it written, right, the changes. Okay, so the edits include the revised gravel driveway, being a reduction of 526 square feet. It's the enlargement of the rain garden, known as number 1. It's removal of grading in front of the proposed home around the previously proposed garage, which we removed. And added details and calculations, including tested results to the rain garden, additional grading in the rear of the proposed home at the rain garden and north around the septic area, and the revised cuts and fill calculations. Revisions to notes and callouts and adding 8 proposed flood vents to the proposed storage area and crawl space, moving the location of the well and substituting straw wattles instead of the silt fence along there. So those are the changes.
Would you mind
I
going,
think I remember.
would you mind going through engineers' comments and?
Sure.
You know, you don't have to word for word, but can you describe what the engineer's
Yeah,
comment
so-
was and then
So
what you did?
so we actually had 4 comments, which were very minor. There were no design parameters for the rain garden other than volume. Pursuant to the stormwater water quality manual, the design must include a minimum separation to seasonal high groundwater. That's why we had new test pits, that's why it took extra time, we had to get the machine out there, we had to dig the holes and look at the groundwater. If infiltration is anticipated, test pits to determine the depth to seasonal high groundwater, which we did. The existing test pit cannot be used. And additionally, the designer must specify the type and depth of the bioretention soil proposed for the rainwater. That's all on sheet 2.
Can you take a pause after each
Yeah.
one?
Sure.
So what did the test results show? Where is groundwater
So
compared to where?
groundwater was at, so if you look at sheet number 2 of 2. And you look just below, it looks like all those little rings there. You can see the test pit observations. So it was modeling at 58, so modeling is an indication of high seasonal groundwater, which is elevation 5.9. So if you look at the cross section at 5.9, the bottom of the rain garden is gonna be, so where you see those little green things on top of the cross section, that's the top of the rain garden, that's where the water is gonna sit. That's gonna be 2 feet above the 5.9, which is the recommended distance. So we do have test pit in the rain garden.
So I see you added an overflow. Where's the outlet?
So the outlet is, so if you look at the, that little red circle at the bottom, that's gonna where it's gonna take like. Into a riprap pad. That's number 1. Number 2, the notes on sheet 2 reference the town of Madison, that was a typo. So that note has been revised. Number 3, the applicant and designer should understand that the site plan is located within a flood zone and will require a flood development permit. We have submitted the flood development permit, that's part of the record right now. And that included also providing an elevation certificate, pre-approval elevation certificate. So what they do is FEMA, a lot of times insurance companies will require elevation certificates prior to construction to make sure it's FEMA compliant. So we provided that also. We didn't submit it to FEMA, but it's provided to the town. The floodplain development permit will require compensatory storage through the filling of the flood zone. We have those calculations on here for the compensatory storage. Compensatory storage is, if you're in a flood zone, if you bring in 10 cubic feet of fill, you have to remove 10 cubic feet of fill. Because when the floodwaters come up, you can't fill that area, because that's available area, so you don't want to flood your neighbors. So that's the reason that it's called compensatory storage. You take out 10 yards, or you add 10 yards, you have to take out. So those calculations are also on this plan. And that's one of the concerns of the engineer, but we do have those calculations now.
Would you mind summarizing those? I don't see where they're at.
Let's see.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
You know, my only concern last time when we looked at this was the garage. Now, I noticed that there's no garage on the new
There is
plan.
no garage, we removed it. The garage is removed, much to the chagrin of my client, I mean, like, a sticking point, and I told him this won't get approved if you have a garage.
Right.
So, he removed it. He's a contractor and he needs a garage, but we took it off. So, let's see. So, look at the volume.
See the old one?
Yeah, so if you look at the water quality volume calculations, we're providing, there's the storage calculations are down there, at the bottom right. And the compensatory storage is. So you see the cuts and fill calculations, it's just above where it says inland wetland notes. The grading complications based on the area northeast and north. So the cut, we show the cuts, we show the fill, and it's a net cut of 11 cubic yards, that's down at the bottom. Do you see that stuff?
Yeah, so that is cuts and fills inside the 100-year, or is that the whole?
That's on the site,
The whole
that's
site?
the total site.
So like, I guess, what is your cut and fill inside the 100?
Well, the whole thing's within us, so it's actually within the AE zone, so anything in the flood zone, you have to have compensatory storage. So that's why, we do have a breakdown of all the post, pre and post, which we did last time, and that's on sheet 3. We have the inland wetland notes, so we have the proposed and the previously approved, just for comparison.
Because I see your AE zone floodway line, but it doesn't look like you're doing any work inside the floodway.
No.
All
No.
this upland. is-
Correct, we're not doing anything in the floodway, that's really a no-no.
Oh,
In the
yeah.
flood. There's no
Okay.
proposed activity, and actually, Scott, that conservation easement, needs up most of that, floodway zone anyway, because the conservation easement is very large. So you can see that the whole gray area on the map, all that gray is the conservation easement, and that's already been deeded, you can't touch that, that's already protected. That was based on the approval from the previous wetlands applications. So you have that little triangle that's in the flood, that's actually in the floodway itself, but we're proposing no activity at all within the floodway. It's all within the 80 zone. And the entire lot is from the 8 to 13. That was comments, that was number 3.
Okay.
And then number 4, it's my understanding that the ENS bond covers the stabilization of the bond cover, so we have a revised bond amount also that eliminated some silt fence, but we put straw wattles in there. They're a lot easier to work with, especially if you put the silt fence along the property line and there's fencing there, you don't have to dig anything up to. Sometimes you do more damage than good, really, so that's why we're kind of trying to switch over to those straw wattles. There are these tubes filled with straw, and when they get wet, they get super heavy, so they don't move around. And when you're done, you can either, cut them or just rot right in the piece. So those were the 4 comments from the town engineer, and so we're waiting for him to look at those 4 comments of the revised plans, which I believe we've addressed. He hasn't looked at them, I know that, but I think any of his comments are gonna be so minor in nature that I don't think that would impede the commission from making a decision tonight. And it could be a condition of approval that if there are changes that are significant, we'll come back. Or we'll just make the changes and then Kathy can look at it administratively. The commission has the latitude to do whatever they want.
Why don't we do commission questions first? Then we'll open up to the public and then we'll discuss them as a commission with Kathy before we close the application or close the public hearing. So any commissions, either commissioner questions?
Unfortunately, I can't see the plans that from the change, so I don't know what to say.
They were uploaded, did you?
They should be up.
Oh, they
Everything
are?
was up- Yeah.
All right, so the newest plan is the one I'm looking at now is what you guys just received tonight?
Last week,
I
but
think,
the revision date is 2/25, if you look at the revision block.
yeah, they got uploaded on the 26th.
In the bottom right corner, there's a little triangle with a 5 for revision 5.
Um,
It should say 2/25/25. February
Mm.
25th.
this one doesn't have that. Hold on, I gotta go back.
The revision was essentially making the rain garden bigger. That's actually what we did
All right,
to accommodate. water quality.
There was a big garage going on there.
Oh, and we removed the garage.
And that's come off the new plan. That was my big obstacle last time. But to approve that.
So the plan you guys have sitting in front of you is downloaded right now, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's uploaded to the application. So if
Okay,
you look toward the bottom, those are the most recent.
okay, that's right, I'm at the very bottom. Hmm.
Did you make any changes to the total proposed disturbed areas?
From the rain garden got bigger. So,
But that's upland of,
right, but that was the only change, and we actually reduced some, we took in some of the grading, we actually reduced some of the grading that we had before. Around the house.
so everything is still less than what was previously approved in
That is correct.
2000.
That is correct, that's undisputable.
Any, yeah,
And it's, because I'm new, I wasn't clear. You said if you brought in 11 yards, you had to take out 11 yards. Where is that?
You know, if you take it out, you have to put it in.
No, you don't have to put it in, you just can't, you can't put more fill in a flood zone. You can remove all day long, because they're looking for less flooding. So when the floodwaters come up, if you have some big pile of soil there, it can't flood that area. So it'll flood your neighbor. So what they wanna do is eliminate your neighbors from getting flooded. So that's why it's compensatory.
So I wasn't clear where the 11 yards are being removed.
Oh, just integrating, and the rain garden got bigger, so we're removing more soil, because the rain garden is a big depression.
That's where it's being removed.
Yes, for the majority, yes, for the most part, yes.
and are you just keeping the grading like tight to the driveway and?
Yes, we are. We're actually not.
Because your silt fence is really close to kind of everything.
Yeah, yep, all my prime.
Well, the whole property level is so low, it's like a delineation zone, you know? The whole area. You can find different levels of growth and.
And that entire hatched area that's in stripes, that's all gonna be replanted. We have a report from Rich Snarsky and from Bob Russo. Rich Snarsky did come up with a planting plan, and Bob Russo looked at it recently, he's another soil scientist, and they both agreed, and that's in the bond, for this entire area to be planted. Which right now it's not.
Mr. Chairman,
And-
may I add something?
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, if you remember when we did our initial site walk with the garage, there was no water there, and then the neighbor attested that the only water that is around there is in the road because of a big divot. That's the water. And they also, so that water has nothing to do with that property, and they're gonna put 80 feet. They're removing the garage and they're doing 80 feet of a berm, to protect the waterway. So that's my feeling, that they bent over backwards to do everything, and getting rid of the garage was a thorn in my side too. But once they got rid of that, the garage, and that testimony from the neighbor, who said, again, not to be redundant, but stating that water is always there after rain and everything, not from the property. So I don't see any reason to keep going on with this.
Just to rehash what Mr. Alvarino said, the only input from any of the public was one neighbor who's in favor of it. He just wants to clean it up, it sees as a dump site now, people come down to throw garbage. So this would not only stop that, it would actually protect this area.
Well, I'm very happy that you got rid of the garage, because that was everybody, I think that was a problem, so.
Yeah, I know that this has been going on for what, 20 years or something? And, you know. To let it be approved, and, you know, my opinion is fine, except you have to go through the process. It's kind of deemed up to. In the future, you know, we'll understand that allowing this stuff, we don't want to do that, you know what I mean? But since it's been existing for a long time, it sort of has a, almost a grandfather status in it, so.
In the 80 foot berm, Larry, is a big plus to this job, you know, it's gonna protect that water course, the waterway. Which is it's no protection now. And alleviating the garage, I don't see a problem, that's my opinion.
Right, removable, not a permanent structure somewhere, I'm sure. That would have to.
Any other commission questions? Okay, so why don't we open up to the public? Anyone from public tonight want to speak on this application, either for, against, or in neutral? Okay. All right, Kathy, I guess why don't we discuss
So
towns?
the point was, so in the regulations, it says that all the documentation has to be available for public inspection no less than 15 days prior to the date of the hearing. So this wasn't given to us till the 26th. So I did contact Michelle Ford and Chuck Eaton, because they both wanted to review it again. And they, you know, weren't gonna have time. They had six days. So they wanted the opportunity to review, and Chuck was planning to come to the next meeting. I know he had comments. I don't know what they are because he hasn't given me a report. So that's why I had initially asked for it. So you're welcome to do whatever you want. I do not have a motion prepared for approval because I thought we were continuing. So I mean, if you want to make a motion, you can, but you would probably need to put some findings in based on the regulations.
So just administratively, if we were to continue, we would need Mr. Mandel's approval, right? Because
He has the 60, he hasn't tapped into the 65 yet.
okay,
So yes,
so
but he would need to approve that.
You have to go along according to. Process, you know.
Well, my contention is that the town engineer gave me his comments based on plans that he didn't like. We revised those plans, and now to come out with other comments, he's reviewing our changes, and as a condition of approval, he has a minor.
And I know, but is it the same engineer?
Yes, and he hasn't had a chance to review the new plan.
There was 4 comments, we've addressed them.
Well,
One was a typo, and the other one was the bonding amount. And the other one was the size of the rain garden with a test pit,
but
which we did,
he did say he has other comments to do with cut and fills and other information.
which is also.
Right, but that was, I'm not gonna argue with you, Chuck. I'm
Thank
not
you.
gonna do it. I'm just saying,
Thank you.
Chuck said, our engineer, that he would like to review the plans again, and he hasn't had the opportunity. That's
So
all. And
the problem,
regulations
this is the
say
problem,
15 days.
so by the time we get his comments, they give us 1 week to react to these things, and I don't know what they are, and then here we are back, and then we can ask for another.
He doesn't give a
So,
week.
so let's say he did make a comment, we had to react to him, and it's a negative comment that he made or something,
We,
you know?
oh,
At the same token. You know, it's. I think it's all gonna get approved, my own, you know, deepest heart, I think, you know, what the majority of us do, but there is. That process, and I think, you know. Kathy's incentiveness on it,
well, it's also the commission's decision.
but
that is true. So, you know, we. I'm gonna say this diplomatically. Kathy and the resources that the town provides us through engineering review are for our use to help us with our regulations and determine what gets approved and what doesn't get approved. So. Yes, you know, I don't wanna lead the commission into making a decision. It would be prudent for us to listen to our wetlands enforcement officer and take town opinion, but we don't have to. We can act as a commission and do really kind of as we please.
I think if we make it conditional. That if serious comments come back. our approval was only conditioned on there being no significant.
So that's a good question,
Yes.
like what happens if engineer comment comes back, say we approve conditionally based on. Addressing engineers' final comments to review, and say they make a comment that requires not a de minimis change, does the application have to get resubmitted with?
Yeah.
New
it's
filing
not
fees.
And the other thing is, he mentioned the flood development, that doesn't come to wetlands, that comes to zoning. So that has to be submitted to them, to zoning. I usually do that as staff. So if there's any changes, it might have to come back anyway, because since the flood and the inland wetlands are kind of intermingled on this property. If there's anything with the flood development, it might have to come back to wetlands as well for any changes that may be made. But if it's de minimis, I can do it, but if it's something he really wants to see done, then it would have to come back.
So that's then a risk, is if we approve it tonight, pending comments that we have no idea where are gonna come. Anything that's not minor would have to basically come back as a brand new application. Open it up to public hearing again and continue that.
Has the commission done that in the past, Scott, to approve something with conditions or?
We put conditions on it, but never an engineering review, not in the 9 years I've been here. We've never conditioned that, but we've conditioned other things. We can put whatever conditions on that we want.
So if we did that with, it would be the first time that we would do that. No, with an engineer's report.
With an engineer's, yes, leaving it up to an engineer review to then come back. Usually we have, at this point, engineers review of the revisions and. You know, usually what we'll do is like we did sit down with Chuck today, go through engineers' comments, how did you address it?
The right thing would be to have an engineer's approval in front of us, you know, we just don't have it right now. But, you know, I'm in favor of conditionally doing it with an engineer's report. What would the process be in the next 30 days if it was approved? What would your client do next? Would there be?
So there's a 15-day appeal period. Typically, they can't do anything for 15 days. It's at risk. But once it's approved, he can start doing his work. But he needs building permits, I mean, there are permits, he has to get he has to get the bond in place, so it's still gonna take some time.
And the flood development,
And we submitted the flood development.
that's gonna happen, because that gets reviewed by our town engineer.
Sorry, so he can't start building until that.
And our engineer hasn't recommended a bond amount yet, right?
So he, again, he hasn't, this is a revised plan, every time it's gone back to him, it's because every time it's come to us, it's had changes. So he hasn't had a chance to review this plan and give his comments. I know he has some, he told me he did, but again, he didn't have the time because of when it came in to review everything, and neither did Michelle, so I don't have the reports in this.
Eddie, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, I just want to, isn't this our third meeting about this?
Technically, yes.
Yeah, so, and I'm just saying. They bent over backwards for us. I mean, they did a lot of things. We had the public hearing, and then we had that neighbor, the neighbor that came down. About he told us about the water. They're putting up 80-foot buffer. They got rid of the garage. I don't know how much more you guys want him to do. I'm being serious. And then another engineer and another engineer and another engineer. I mean, it's just to me, it's just I don't know. I mean, if you were the applicant, I mean, they jumped through hoops. They gotta get rid of the garage, which was a thorn in everybody's side. I know that. The 80-foot buffer is gonna protect the waterway. The water in the street that we had all those pictures of wasn't even from that property. It's from the road. It's from the town. I don't know what else you guys wanted to do. I explained about the burn. All that piles was from. I told him to pile up and not burn, and he did. And he didn't burn it. The pile he did burn was legal, and it just seems like all these roadblocks are being thrown in front of these people, and all this is doing is just costing them a lot of money. That's all I got to say.
Very complicated property too. It's not that they're being it to be difficult. I mean,
Can I make a suggestion? What about moving that process forward, that it's approved, but nothing can actually be done on the property, but he can start doing permits and getting through zonings,
you can't really
you know?
do that. I mean, if you wanted to approve it, you can. I'm not telling you can't. You would need to have findings for your approval, and then based on what the engineer says. Again, I don't know. I don't have a report from him, so I can't speak to that.
Is the town engineer is gonna be different from Chuck Mandel? He's an engineer.
So
Is he gonna be
Chuck is
different?
representing the applicant, so there's two Chucks. Chuck Eaton is our town engineer, so he's the one who reviews our applications. So when these came in, he reviewed them, but then there were revisions, so he reviewed them, and then this is another revised plan, so he hasn't had time yet to review it and give his report.
Well, I know that we made a lot of administrative approvals without the commissions being involved. The commission's all involved. Everybody here has been out there. I'd say I make a recommendation to close the public hearing and approve it with, Larry has a you got something for the approval, preliminary approval, Larry?
Well, I'm talking about an approval where they wouldn't have to wait 2 weeks after the next meeting, kind of thing. Or to get going,
We're talking about,
Pending the review,
pending
the engineering review.
the engineer's review, yes.
but the engineer's review, if they come out with new findings, then we're gonna be still back in the same boat again.
It would actually probably delay it longer if the engineer's review comes back that requires the site to move something inside the regulated area that's
Or
not.
another revision to the plan, which
Yeah.
requires another review by the engineer. Right?
Well, as I said, the plan has changed. It wasn't the same plan that the engineers looked at multiple times, and that's why it's come back. Like, because, Eddie was asking, why is this taking so long? Because there's been multiple iterations of it, so each time the engineer reviewed it, again, because you've got flood zone, he's looking at it for wetlands, but because they're intermingled, what impacts one impacts the other.
In my mind,
if I may, Kathy, the reason why I kept changing it is because we asked Chuck to change the plans. We asked him to make it more simple. We asked him, they removed the garage. They did an awful lot.
Yeah.
We actually kept making them change the plans.
Well, the engineer had a lot of concerns, Eddie, and that was why the reports were so in-depth, so a lot of those changes were based on comments from the town engineer.
You know how
the
soon
plan
you
is,
get an answer from the
iterations
town
have been
engineer?
Well,
improvements.
again, the regulations
Require
take
review.
15 days, and, he gets his reports to us, it'd be, a couple of
There,
days.
like I said, there were 4 comments from the town engineer. One was a typo. One talked about the bond. The only 2 that I saw that were significant were the design of the rain garden, compensatory storage, and the flood development permit, which really isn't under the purview of the commission. It could be, if it changes things. But if you see the silt fence line that I showed, running along the west, nothing is gonna happen beyond that silt fence line except for the plantings. We are proposing no activity beyond that silt fence. And then the town engineer, no matter what he says, he's not gonna propose anything on the other side of that silt fence. So if you talk about disturbed areas, everything is gonna happen to the east of that silt fence. It could be more fill, we may make a bigger rain garden, it could change the grading, but I don't really see anything significant changing that we can't address initially.
What about approving, pending upon the engineer's approval?
The problem is, as Scott said, depending on what he asks for, I'm only allowed to make de minimis changes, anything more has to come back.
No, but I mean like a complete approval. If he comes back and approves it, then we can approve it tonight. As far as that goes.
I'm not
If
sure I understand.
he approves it in 2 weeks, then it becomes active, our approval.
Well, no, the process is once something gets approved, it has to go into the Harbor News, and then there's a 15-day appeal period, so the person's not supposed to do work during that time. As Chuck explained, it's at their own risk,
Correct.
because the decision can be
Right.
appealed. And then after that, then the person would go on and apply, they're gonna need a flood development permit, and then they're obviously building permits, they already have health, so.
So the process is close the public hearing, approve it, put it in the Harbor News, and I think
Yes,
they went above and beyond. I mean, think
Town
about all the
engineers
changes they made.
still gonna- The town engineer is still gonna be coming back with comments, so. It's just, how you, let me know how you wanna handle it, I'm just giving you.
So I wouldn't recommend. But if we were to approve it, I wouldn't recommend putting a condition that the engineer has to approve it, because
Right.
they come back with something as very minor that Kathy cannot approve. And if it's not considered de minimis, then you gotta resubmit an application. So I think our two options that we have is ask for a continuance from the applicant, allow engineer review to come in, then we decide. Or if we feel that we don't need engineer's review again, we just approve it as is. I wouldn't put a
Could we
condition.
establish, based on the engineer's completion of the review, could we establish a special meeting to do a final review or approval of this thing,
I don't,
other than our monthly?
We could, we've done that before where we've sped up.
What about this? If there's recommendations from the engineer that the client is responsible to address those issues.
But the problem is, we would have approved this plan. If he's gotta revise it, you've gotta submit a new application.
Okay.
There's no application.
Proactively go back.
If it's not minor
We gotta
changes.
either
Yeah,
approve this plan or ask for continuance, that's it.
those are, I think, the only two that we can really do.
Can we close the public hearing and approve this plan as is?
Well, so I guess before we do that, we need to kind of figure out how people are gonna vote. So
I'm like in the middle, personally. I think it's gonna be approved, I don't think that's gonna be anything major from the engineer, but
because if Eddie, if we close the public hearing, then we can't introduce engineer comment review, and then that's.
But if we approve it as is with all the changes that have been made, they bent over backwards. If you guys remember, go back. I got a great memory. We all wanted the significant activity. We wanted everything they wanted, and then we changed the guy got rid of the garage. I mean, 80-foot buffer zone. I mean, and then with that testimony from the neighbor stating that there's no water there, it comes from the town. I mean, how much more you want the guy to do? I mean, I don't, and Chuck Mandel is a great, I don't know if he's great, but he's very good engineer. He's a very good engineer. I don't want to give you a big head, Chuck. So he's a good engineer. We had all these reports. I mean, I don't understand. I just don't.
So the other thing too is the engineer typically for ones like this that are more complicated sets the bonding.
right,
Our engineer didn't set a bond.
right.
Which if we would approve it tonight,
We would have to-
we would have to figure out a bond amount.
No, we
That's your
actually-
job, Scott.
Do you have a bond amount?
Yes.
Where does this come from?
Really?
It's submitted, it's all, it's part of the package.
You submitted it.
Yes, it's been in.
There's a package.
So you're recommending a bond amount of $14,777.
Correct.
50 cents, okay.
Yeah,
But some of it, like a construction entrance, once you put you can get a partial bond release.
right.
Yep.
So putting the silt fence in, you can get a bond. So it's actually mostly just the plantings, I think, which is like 4 or 5, maybe $3,000, I'm not sure.
And really, the whole purpose of a bond is so that that property doesn't end up like it ended up for the last 20 years, so that
It's
we
exactly,
could come in.
exactly. So there's about a $15,000 bond that has to be. So
All right,
we-
so we have a recommendation for a bond from the applicant.
Right.
I mean, and ultimately, we can do whatever we want as a commission. So I mean, if we're gonna close the public hearing, we at least need to have a minimum of 4 votes for approving the application tonight. Like,
But Scott, I like your idea of getting a poll first before you close it.
Yes, I need to test the water, so that I don't put you in a bad spot.
Exactly.
So we are going to have at least 4 members voting to approve tonight, then whenever someone makes a motion to either continue or close the public hearing, just need to make sure that the votes are there.
Scott, you
Yes,
can also close the public hearing and defer the decision to the next one.
but they won't be able to introduce any
Any
new,
new.
which is,
That's
defeats the purpose, but then that defeats the purpose of hearing engineer comment. That would just be wasting this kind of a month.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to close the public hearing?
You can. Do I have a second?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
9 Van Dyke, IWC 24-7, 9 Van Dyke Lane.
Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second by Larry, any discussion? So now be careful how you vote, because if you vote to close, pretty much voting to approve. So can you do a roll call?
Sure. Edward Alberino,
Aye.
that was a yes.
Yes.
Lawrence Edwards,
Aye.
Michael Florio,
I'm gonna abstain.
Tom Welch,
Yes.
Robert Corson,
Yes.
Christopher Horvath,
No.
Scott Harley,
I'll not vote, since I don't need to break a tie. Okay, so public hearing is closed. So I guess with that, Eddie, do you want to make a motion to approve?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve IWC 24-7, 9 Van Dyke Lane.
Well, I guess I assume we're gonna just use our standard IWC conditions on the approval.
Yes, all conditions.
And then do you want to also include the bond amount of 14,000?
Yeah, the bond amount of $15,000.
15, we'll round up, 15,000. Okay, Eddie has a motion to approve with our standard conditions, a bond amount of 15,000. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thomas seconds. Discussion amongst the commission. Guess we are pretty much figured out how we're going.
are there any findings?
No findings, but we should note that the date of the plans up to the 5th revision from February of 2025, to make sure that these plans,
That were
25th,
25th.
2025.
I just want to say, I understand the frustration of the applicant.
Oh,
I really
yeah,
do.
look over.
No, we're discussing.
We're discussing, I really understand it, and I'm very sorry, I think you've done everything that you've been asked to do. I think my concern is twofold. One is we do have to respect the work of our staff and our engineer. And I think secondly, we also have to be very careful about setting our precedents. Yes, I just need to say that. You know, I'm one of the newest members on the commission, and I'm learning a lot. But I think we have to be very careful going into the future.
I mean, and just my opinion on it, I don't think we would be approving this site had they not already gotten approval in 2000.
I strongly agree with that.
Yeah, that was always my big hang up. Like, we're allowing people to build. I think the only reason that we are is because they have had a previous approval. And what
Is
makes
that
me,
part of the contingency of approval?
no, because it's based on like the approved site plan, so like he
I'm
can't
just
go build
looking at
something different.
the future, and somebody comes and says, you already did it. And we need to be able to say, you know, they did it because it was previously
And that's-
approved.
Nobody would buy the
And that needs to
property
be in
today because of that situation.
And can we do that as a finding of fact?
Like one of the last properties in
That's-
that situation that would get approved.
Like the only,
You
can
know,
you
it'd be
do
better
a
to
finding
have
of
home
fact
there
that
than what it
we're
is now.
approving this because it.
We have multiple conversations at the same time, all can't pick it up.
So can we somehow note this in our approval that we are approving it because it's basically a. It's a reapproval of something that's already been approved, that's, it was originally approved in 2000. That is why we're allowing it now.
And you can say that they made a lot of changes, Scott.
I thought both of you were speaking at the same time.
Sorry.
So go ahead, Doug.
Yep, and it needs to be, it's an improvement upon what was previously approved. Clearly,
Yeah, there's less.
even though it's still,
Yeah.
if it were to come to us today, we'd still be struggling with this thing. If this was brand new, we would be really struggling with this thing.
Mhm. It's not appropriate building line, but. They got their approvals in place when it was the Wild West.
And it will be a lot better. Once this is,
There's what's there.
that's true, at the end of the day.
There's
Any
gonna be
other-
vast improvements to the property, just with that 80-foot buffer.
No question.
All right. So if there's no further discussion, why don't we do a vote? You mind doing a roll call vote again? This is for approval.
Edward Alberino,
Aye,
Lawrence Edwards,
I,
Michael Florio,
I'm gonna abstain again.
Thomas Welch,
Yes.
Robert Corson,
Yes.
Christopher Horvath,
No,
Scott Harley,
I'll not vote.
Doug Elliott,
No.
Oh, Doug's an alternate tonight.
I'm an
oh, I'm
alternate.
sorry, that's right.
Since you asked.
Okay,
All right, thank you, Mr. Mandel. You got your 4 votes.
Thank you very much. I know it was difficult and, I'm buzzing. But thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
You want this for staff copy?
We don't need paper anymore.
Oh, you're good. Just-
Ed, Larry, Michael abstained, yes.
Rob,
Oh, Rob was a yes?
Rob, you were, yes.
Of course.
So we did both.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, we were back in 2000, I know better than that, right?
No. All right, thanks for sitting around everybody through that one. So we'll move on to item agenda number 5, administrative review. We've already talked about 9 Van Dyke Lane. So we'll move on to item C 25-2. So this is 13 Christina Court. Robert Hera is the applicant, or Caranta is the applicant. And owners. This is for regulated activity in or within 100 feet of an inland wetlands for tree removal, tree replacement, clearing a pathway to the pond, a freestanding shed, going to be in accessories map 6, block 2, lot 10-18 in the zone R80. So we'll have to do 2 things tonight. We'll need to determine if this application is a significant activity for our regulations, which would warrant a public hearing. If not, then it's eligible for decision tonight from our commission. So I guess, Mr. Bousquet, you're
Yes,
representing
I'm
the
acting
applicant.
as the agent for the applicant, for the
Okay.
application.
You mind just giving us general what you're planning to do, kind of what your limits of work in the wetlands, adjacent to the wetlands is gonna be?
Absolutely, so there'll be no actual work in the wetland. The applicant,
Sorry, would you mind,
sorry, Gary
thank
Bousquet,
you.
47 Kelsey Town Road. Sorry, a little PTSD planning as well. All right, so the applicant has a pool, lives in a very wooded lot, and the trees are very close to the pool. several of those trees, you know, the main reason obviously is they'd like a little bit more sunlight to get into the pool area. However, in addition to that, some of the trees are problematic. Quite a few of them have what's called a convoluted crotch, which means they're very likely to break apart. And then if I look at the species of the tree, I should state that I'm an arborist.
Arborist, yeah. I was gonna
Licensed
say.
arborist, for the record. If I look at some of the species of trees, they're problematic trees. Tulip being one of them, beech, which has beech leaf disease. So the proposal is to go in between the pool and the trees, not go into wetlands, have them climbed, have them brought down. I'm not gonna do the tree work, but I would be the one overseeing the tree work. Once that's done, then I would take over. We were not gonna remove the stumps, the sun is just gonna open up, you know, that'll create erosion and silt into the wetlands, or could. So the proposal is then to put a little bit of soil there and then plant what we in our industry, might not be a technical term for years, it's a inland wetland buffer zone, which is going to be comprised of native species plants, which are recommended by Connecticut DEP, witch hazel, highbush blueberry. What I want to say is, you know, I don't want to get specific to exactly every type of plant and say, oh, highbush blueberry has to go exactly there, because the way it works is you go to a grower and you get the best plant. Right, so I don't want to be pigeonholed and to get it, it has to be a witch hazel, but nobody has a good witch hazel, but everybody has these great hybrid blueberries. Then that area would be wood chipped to allow that root zone to prosper and prevent any erosion from going into wetlands. I'll skip over, he wants a little walking path to the pond. There already is a walking path. It would just really be a matter of, get my guys take a couple wheelbarrows and put some witches down, no trees coming down. There are two invasive species right on the edge of the pond, which is autumn olive, or Russian olive, for some people know it as. Those two should come out, and how we can get rid of Russian olive anywhere, it's an asset to, and DEP does promote the removal of that species. Then we hop on the other side of the fence, and he wants to extend the patio a little bit. He's still within his coverage. There would be concrete pavers, and then he is gonna put a shed over on the side. That's pretty much what he wants to do. I don't think it's really, I think it could be approved. I don't think it's really significant, but I'm not you guys, so.
I just want to note too, I put in my motion that, and in my report too, that the reason why the shed is coming to you is the applicant would have had to apply for two permits, a wetlands enforcement officer permit for the shed and this, so I thought it would be more fair to do one permit. So he only needs the one application and the one approval. And the only thing, Gary, do you have, because I put this into the motion, if you choose to do it, you don't have to. Do we have like, I know you were putting together a list and everything, is there anything we can put in the record that has like a date on it or? Just
I sent you an email.
So you want me to use the email for the
Yeah,
record?
I mean,
Okay.
you can just use it.
That's fine, okay, because I did get
Oh,
it,
looking back, somebody should be able
Yeah.
to say, hey, why did they do that?
Yeah.
And
I put that on the record too, but I had asked Gary in an email just to give me like a plant list and he sent me an email, so I can use that.
Okay, any questions?
How big is the shed?
One smaller than the original.
It's like a carefree shed, you know,
Not
like
actually-
20, like 12 by 20. Yeah.
Actually, 336. 336 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the report.
So there's no moving of any materials, there's no.
Have you seen the
By the
property?
pool, there'll be location of material.
Well, then you can approve it.
But there's,
You know, that, like for the shed needs a base, so
Didn't want to enter it, but
we're gonna be
Still good.
removing some soil and putting some stone, which would actually be better.
But within the wetlands, there's no removal of that material. That's what I meant.
For the path that goes out to that pond, were you removing any of the trees in the path or just the ones that were hanging
Just
out?
the two on the, just the two that are on the embankment.
Okay,
And I'm not gonna cut that
with the sign on.
per DEP, we're not gonna pull the stumps, we're gonna treat. We'll treat the stumps to kill off the stump a little just later.
okay. And it's all by hand, right? No,
It's all by,
There's previously wood chips already there.
it's clear path.
Grass is
there.
starting to grow through some of the wood chips, so it's been done a long time ago, so.
No trucks.
Any questions, Mike or Ed?
No. so
No,
it's
thank
pretty-
you, sir. Oh,
We're gonna make more, we gotta,
So, yeah, so the first thing we gotta do is significant activity. Do any of us think that this is a significant activity, warrant a public hearing?
no.
No. Okay, so by consensus, we find not a significant activity, does not need a public hearing. So then we can take action. So if we, I'll say, it sounds like we're gonna lean to approve.
Yeah.
So I'll take a motion to approve with Kathy had recommended a number of following conditions that I think we should add to it. And I'll just read them off for the record, and if everyone agrees, we can just put it in motion. That the trees be cut down by a licensed arborist with no tracks or trucks to be used, tree stumps will be left in place, all tree debris will be removed. Permittee shall give a copy of the permit to the contractors to be carrying out the authorized activities. I don't think we need to do erosion and sediment controls. I think we had that only because they're not proposing any.
Sure.
So
We can take that
I'll
out.
leave that out. Native trees and shrubs will be planted in accordance with the plan submitted by Gary Bousquet, licensed arborist. No trees will be removed on the pathway to the pond, as they stated tonight. And the permittee shall contact our wetlands enforcement officer after work has become completed for a site inspection. So those are additional conditions.
You
that-
say no trees to be removed on the property to the pond. We need to acknowledge the two bushes or two plantings that are at the edge of the pond that need to be removed at certain dates at the beginning.
Correct, yeah, so maybe to amend,
I didn't, I wasn't interested.
They're at the end of the walkway.
amend,
It's
number
number
5. It says no trees will be removed to the pathway to the pond, except for the two invasives at the water's edge.
Okay, so only invasives.
At water's edge.
Invasives at water's edge.
To be formed annually.
Yep, all by him, yeah, that was in number 1. They'll be cut down, no trucks will be used in the wetlands.
Mr. Chairman, just probably get it too technical, but I would advise that it shouldn't say that they'll be taken down by an arborist, instead an arborist will oversee the removal. Usually the guy taking down the tree is not an arborist.
Yep.
So it will be supervised.
It'll be supervised.
Supervised.
As long as the permit's returned to
What
copy
copy
of
is
it.
that?
So it'll be the tree cutting for number 1 will be supervised
By a Connecticut state arborist.
by a licensed arborist, yeah,
Or to the contract.
Tree cutting will be.
supervised.
The trees will be cut down and will be
By a skill set.
will supervise.
Right, so that's the recommendation for conditions. We'd also need to set a bond amount. I'd recommend no bond on this one. There's not
See
any,
a reason for it.
no ENS controls. I don't think we'd ever need to go back and decide. So I guess with that, I'll take a motion to approve with those conditions.
Motion to approve those conditions.
I second that.
Move
Bob moved,
to
Chris.
approve as conditioned.
yeah, Chris seconds.
What's the girth of
According
the
to
trees?
the plan.
Most of them are about, I would say somewhere between 12 and 18 inches.
Oh,
There's a couple of small,
yeah.
with that I didn't even put X's on that are there, but they're not big monsters.
Okay.
And the second
It's not a
was.
technical-
Chris.
Chris.
Big monster.
Any further discussion? Anything online, Mike or Ed?
No, I'm good. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, all right, all those approving, say aye.
I,
All right,
Anyone oppose or abstain? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Kinsey.
you for your time, everybody.
good night.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, we're now on IWC 25-3, 37 West Shore Drive. Ryan Thompson is the applicant. Lynn J. and Rick E. Sample are the owners. It's for an activity. Excuse me, application for activity within 50 feet of an inland wetlands or a water course. This is an after-the-fact approval for relocation of an unpermitted gazebo, assessors map 14, block 3, lot 55, in the zone R30. So why don't we hear testimony
I'm
from?
sorry, Mr. Chairman, can I want to recuse myself from this, 25-3.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. We'll note that.
Thank you.
So we'll let Mr. Thompson,
Excuse me, do you want to see? Doug?
yeah, well, can I see Doug for Eddie,
Yeah.
for just part of it?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll do
Just
that. So
that.
you're a voting member, Doug. So we'll hear from Mr. Thompson and then, again, like the last application, we'll need to determine if it's a sigma activity, warrant a public hearing. If not, it's eligible for decision tonight. Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager.
Okay, my name is Brian Thompson. I'm an engineer and land surveyor. I'm based here out of Clinton. I'm representing Santa Cruz behind me. So this is the second meeting, well, third meeting if you include the sidewalk. We did the acceptance a month ago. We did the sidewalk a week and a half ago. And now, we're here for the final, I guess, hopefully final meeting. It's pretty straightforward. It's a very simple, request, and that is to take, an unpermitted pergola gazebo that's currently encroaching on the neighbor's property and move it to behind the house, which would put it totally on the property. All of it is essentially within the upland review area. You can see this 50-foot line here. And so where it is now, the unpermitted location is in that area. Most of the house is, and the proposed location is also. The big, in my opinion, the big issue is that it's 2.8 feet from the wetland line as it was delineated by Ian Cole. And so those of you who went to the sidewalk, you saw that, it's very clear. And that would require no removal of any living vegetation, but there is a large, 6-8 foot tall stump that was left from when the tree was removed. It was damaged a year or two back or so. I don't, forgive me for the time. I don't know when it was removed, but it's still there now. And that would need to be removed, but it would be cut flat and the stump would stay and it would be underneath the proposed structure. So it wouldn't be dug out with a big hole. There would be no earthwork. There'd be no fill brought in to level it. It would be placed concrete blocks leveled with wooden risers, if you will, coming off those blocks to make it level. There's some steps on one side that would be on this side. So they're currently on this side now. They would be here so that access from the driveway side of the house, you could walk into the gazebo here.
Is there any way you could bring that to us?
Yeah,
Closer, it's so faint.
I just didn't want to get in the way of
Sorry.
the camera, and so I guess
Right
it's
there.
there.
We could just turn it so everyone can see that.
So can everybody see that?
Maybe this way.
Yeah, there you go. I'll stand over here, maybe I won't be in your way.
So the actual house is over the property line, is that the top?
No, the house is right there, the property lines go up like this. The wetland line is here and here, and then there's a street that goes, it's basically the center line of the creek is this line right here.
So you wanna move the gazebo from where it is, that's a big gazebo.
Yeah, it's about, I don't remember exactly.
It is.
It's
It's
basically
pretty
30 by
big.
25s,
No, it's not 45.
30 by 25s.
It's like,
20 by 20.
yeah, it's like 20 width, and then. I think at the base, so it's 12 that's got a roof over it, and then there's a portion of it that, like a little deck on it. So this would, yeah, we would want to move it here.
What are your plans on moving it?
How are we gonna move it?
So it's gonna have to be basically deconstructed and then reassembled in the new site. Yeah, so it was put together.
So you're not gonna lift it and roll it, right?
I don't think that would be realistic.
massive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need a pretty big,
You don't have room to put a pretty big.
yeah, I don't think that's, I think it's gonna be totally disassembled and reassembled. That's the only way to do it.
Oh, the trees aren't being possible.
Yeah, there's trees in the way and it's not, yeah. So that's the idea. So one of the concerns I know that Kathy had was of it being dislodged during a flood event. And so, you know, the clients are more than willing to anchor it down. You know, using like steel cables. There's no, like I said, there's no earthwork. It's the only earthwork would be to clear, you know, the concrete blocks are about this big. You need to take some of the, you just need to get it down level beneath the leaf debris and stuff like that. So you'd be resting on actual soil. That's the extent of the actual removal of any native type soils or anything. You know, it is open on the front. It would be open underneath. So water could flow beneath it. It could be anchored down.
It's a 4x4 construction.
Yeah, it's got four corners, yep, just 4 corners. There's some pictures of that, I know, in the packet that was uploaded. And then those of you who went to the sidewalk saw it, I pointed it out. So this is step one. Step two is we still also have to get a variance from the zoning board of appeals. Which, depending on your decision tonight, whether we even go forward with that, obviously, so. But in my opinion, it's you know, I clearly, I have a vested interest in the clients, but I'm being realistic with you. I don't see it as a big significant impact. I also did reach out to the soil scientist who did the delineation and, you know, had his comments, which I shared with Kathy earlier today, and we spoke on the phone. And, you know, he agrees. He doesn't see this as a huge impact.
So, but you can't put like a big foot concrete footing in the ground because it's too far down. It's water down there.
Yeah, well, and this isn't, this isn't something that needs a huge footing. It's not a large structure. It's large and
Well, I'm thinking
gazebo,
of
but
for
it's,
anchoring purposes. That's all.
yeah.
You know, how would you anchor it with cables?
So, yeah, I mean, in my mind, it would be sort of like those guy wire, you know, screw in anchor type thing. That's what I would think we would use. One on each side in the back would just keep it from dislodging floating. I mean, it might tip, right? But it's like, you know, or even in the front, whatever's the least invasive, honestly, the clients they're not seeking to do massive work. They just want a place to
Have
have.
you ever flooded there before, you know?
So I don't know. I've never been there. They're here. You can ask them.
Have you ever had a flood in your yard?
No,
How many years you been there?
I've lived there since 1957.
Oh, well, it's gotta be a flood next week.
But stop. Yeah.
Sorry, would you mind just, because you're talking, identify yourself for the record?
Sure, Lynn Sample. I'm the co-owner.
Yep.
This is my husband, Rick.
Okay, thank you,
How you
Lynn.
doing?
Why are we moving it?
So the reason why it's being moved is because it's encroaching on the neighbor's property. It's over the property line.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that.
So I don't know if you can see, what, I know you can't see what I'm pointing at, but if you have it in front of you. If you see where it says existing gazebo to be relocated, that's where it is now. And it's encroaching by 10.6 feet on, well, 10.4 on the road side and 10.6 on the other side. So the only real place to put it is where it's shown as proposed. There's no realistic place to put it other than that. Which of course is right next to the wetland limit, and it's of course in the open review area. But, you know, again, it's, the only structure on this property is the house. And all they want to do is have a place to do a little barbecue with their family. It's really all it comes down to. That's the extent of the invasiveness. So that's,
They love the gazebo.
they do love the gazebo. I know that.
Those are nice. That's all right. Do you have any issues?
Well, I wrote a report. Did you guys all see it? So,
Do you mind summarizing?
yeah, so this was brought into me as a violation. So it's a violation of zoning regulations in that it encroaches on the neighboring property, so it doesn't meet setbacks. And then it was a violation of wetlands because it didn't have any wetland permitting. It's also in the AE flood zone. So I submitted the complaint was submitted on 6/7. I issued the notice of violation. So in order to permit the pergola properly, it would need to have wetlands approval, and then it needs to go to zoning board of appeals for 2 side setback variances. I went out to the property. I know you guys did a site walk as well. So, my concerns are just the location. It's very close to the stream and, it's 2.8 feet from the wetlands. And we talked about the grades. So the applicant estimated the flood elevation is 40 feet. The GIS shows the transects between 40 and 42. And in the absence of elevations on the plan, the 2-foot contours show the adjacent grade is 32. And so, it's pretty low. Obviously the commission has to make a determination whether or not this is a significant activity, and then they can vote to make a decision if they don't feel it's a significant activity. Because of my concerns, I did not prepare an approval motion. That doesn't mean you can't approve it. You certainly can with findings, but this was just my opinion.
What do you say? Holy.
So it's gonna be moved.
Or they have to take it out.
Take it out.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you can pull it a little bit farther away from the
Well,
wetlands?
so, I mean, right now I have it as 8 feet from the corner of the house. There is a, like a mini split air conditioning camera
Right,
back
right.
there. You start having no room to really maneuver, between the pergola and the house if you start bringing it so close. So
Where were you thinking of sticking?
the septic's in the front. I'm sorry. So,
Yeah,
what was
gazebo.
I'm sorry, Steve.
Where will the future placement of the gazebo?
Right here,
Oh.
just to the rear. So
So-
this is the house.
So that's the gazebo.
This is the gazebo.
Oh, I see. I thought it was a
Yeah.
garage or something.
Oh, no, this is proposed.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the existing.
Taking it.
This is gonna go away, no matter what. I need to get a new one of these. Staples not coming through. So this is gonna go away. This is the existing, it's, no matter what happens,
So
it's
you
going.
got a tight
So,
property.
so the idea, they don't want it to go away, they want to use it, and so the only place to put it is behind the house. And so the idea is that the house is already non-conforming. It's basically 49 feet across the entire property. Alright, so we're wanting to stick it right behind the existing house in the same alignment so that we're not approaching it.
Setback.
Yeah, we're not, violating the setbacks anymore.
It needs variances for setbacks.
Yeah, we will need variances for it. So that, again, that's the next step after your approval tonight. And 2 weeks from now, we go before the zoning board of appeals and try to get their approval.
And the zoning, what they need is it just setback or is it
They have,
total
they have,
impervious area?
so they need coverage, but they do need, variances for the two sides.
Yeah.
So basically their path is either they have to remove it, or they have to come and get wetlands approval and ZBA approval.
And we're first.
Yeah,
We're first.
because it's an after the fact.
So
it's
it'll
a
still have to
violation.
get approved, whether
It's
we
still-
approve it or not.
Correct.
And if we don't approve it, it doesn't go there.
Correct.
Yeah, if you don't approve tonight, then it's done, I would say. There's no,
We're just going through the.
And that zoning board of appeals is not the planning and zoning meeting.
No, so PZC can approve, regular applications, but they're needing relief from the rules,
Right.
basically. So what they have to do is go to ZBA and basically say, these are the reasons we can't meet the regulations.
yeah, so just to clarify, I'm not sure it was fully clarified, but the only variance is required on the two side setbacks.
Right.
There's no area.
Yep.
It's all still fine there.
Any questions before we kind of get into a discussion?
It's close to the wetlands.
It is, there's no hiding that, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It's as close, it's the closest I've ever been involved with.
But again, you're not placing fill, you're not
But, yeah,
excavating,
it's-
you're
there's-
putting concrete.
Concrete blocks,
Footing there.
risers, level,
It's just a concrete.
and then, and then because of the concerns with Kathy, anchor it down, that's it. And honestly, my opinion is, if there's a significant amount of water to move it, then the road is washing away, the houses are gone. I think, I do kind of think the anchoring is a little bit unnecessary, but I'm not, we're not unwilling to do it, because of the concerns of the staff.
Okay, so first question for us, do we think this application constitutes a significant activity which would warrant a public hearing? Or is it in the best interest of the public that we hold a public hearing on this application?
I don't think we.
Okay, so everyone's shaking their head no, I'd say by consensus, does not warrant a public hearing. So I guess commission discussion, what do we think? It's,
Do it, as you mentioned there, no removal of that stump, just cut it off. That was my sentence.
Yeah, you put
Just-
Yeah.
Cut it flush, but no removal of the stump, because the stump is close to the wetland.
Yeah, no removal of the stump. I know a guy who carved it there.
Right.
Don't give them any more ideas.
Still going on.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
there's,
we should let it go to the zoning board of appeals. Yeah, let's let them.
Let's move on to the corridor.
I mean, and they're trying to comply with an order from the town to move it onto their property. Not really many spots that you can put the thing and,
Or maybe they'll have you cut it down.
and you're outside the wetlands by.
2.8.
2.8 feet, yeah.
And here's the thing, I've already staked it out, it's, we saw it, those of you who went to the site, it's staked. And, I can physically be there with my equipment to make sure that when it's moved, it's not any closer to that, if you want to put that as a condition, just to confirm. I have no problem doing that.
And there's no way you can move it back either, right? So as far as it has to have that setback.
Well, you can't really move it left or right, but again,
I'm talking about toward the back of the property.
Oh, no, I mean, you'd have to put in a path over the wetland and the creek and a bridge and.
No, but I mean just a couple feet farther up towards the property line.
This way.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, there's a tree here. There's this pretty significant tree that would need to be cut down to do that. Yeah, it's two trees, but you,
right.
yeah, I don't think that's the.
Kind of where it's shown.
Yeah, that's
Where.
where it is because it's the least invasive. Even though it's 2.8 feet, it requires essentially no disturbance except for the placement of it.
How long has that gazebo been there?
June or May.
Since May of 24. Since May.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I have to look at
You
it.
just didn't realize your property didn't go that far, then.
Yeah,
My laptop.
Yeah,
I have it.
you're the applicant,
Oh,
sure.
okay, thanks. I have a
Absolutely.
quick answer to that. We have neighbors next door and we had always used that part. And without ever realizing that it wasn't our property. And when he and I were talking and I said, I'd really love to build a gazebo. Because now that we have wetlands, which didn't exist when I was a kid, you know, the wetlands came. When Walkley Mill behind us was built. And the water just found the least resistance and that's the lowest place, right? So. Wetlands brought mosquitoes, which also meant that the things we used to do outside, we weren't able to do. And my neighbor said, put the gazebo here. This would be the perfect location because I'm not gonna ever take down these trees. It's nice and sheltered. You can anchor it there. And we agreed and we had an easement agreement. But that wasn't sufficient.
Well, it wasn't a legal easement.
Well,
It was just a verbal.
Well, to be fair, the intent was they were going to file an easement and. Yeah, then I had drawn up an easement map, but that wasn't, but
Yeah.
your office, you and Abby determined that wasn't sufficient, so, yeah. So it was going to be legal, but then.
We were told that wouldn't work, so. And part of the reason was because what we had to do to qualify for all of that was then survey our neighbor's property. And put all of the buildings and things on there and do a calculation. We said, we don't want to put them through that. They were trying to do something loving for us. Because we've been neighbors our whole life. So I just wanted you all a little bit of perspective where wetlands weren't there when I was growing up there, but they're there now and we honor it. And just part of the reason we had the gazebo built on the footings and on our platform to make sure the water could go from the road. You know, any rain and stuff could go right to where it needed to be near the creek. So thank you for listening.
There's a lot of planning and zoning sets in different parts, you know, and that's Abby and Kathy go through them all the time, so they're aware of a lot of zoning issues
Yes.
than the average person is, you know, and as far as, you know, there are a lot of communities and stuff. There's a lot of flack from the DEP and stuff coming from in Wetlands, and there's a lot of training involved in it too, so. You know, things that Kathy does bring up is valid according to her.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying, to,
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of respect for
And
that.
that's why we bring them to the meeting to resolve them. But
why did you guys
Okay.
put that gazebo there?
Did you hear what she just?
Why we put the gazebo there?
No, yeah, it's like-
Because- Yeah, because our neighbors suggested that we use that space because we'd always had like places where we had a big wooden shed. Where
Oh.
we tent right there, and so
Yeah.
they were saying, perfect, but we didn't know that it was 10 feet over their line. And we determined that. Actually, as soon as Kathy cited us, I told her that it was over the line, but I didn't realize it when we were building the gazebo.
Okay,
But it was because we thought we had, the grace of our neighbor. That's really what it boiled down to.
okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, one question, get back to anchoring. Would it ever make sense that when you cut the stump off, that you could also anchor to what's left of it?
I don't think so, because you'd end up having to damage the floor. I think it'd be better to anchor it from the corners instead of the middle.
No, I meant the corner.
Yeah.
What's the stump?
Yeah, well, no, because I don't think, I'm not sure how you tie it in.
Yeah.
It's not centered out,
It's not in the middle.
properly centered out, because they, properly.
How would you anchor it exactly?
Well, like I said, I think you would use those, spiral screw anchors.
Like a
and then
heel,
just-
Yeah.
yeah, like a
and
helical
just-
into the ground. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, what he said.
And then, like, strap it.
Yeah, you would just do like some eye bolts, you know, up
Big
into
eye
the
bolts,
corner and just.
Yeah, they usually have little short little cables.
Yeah.
And
I
who
don't
houses
think that thing's
do-
gonna go anywhere. You guys wanna?
I mean, it would take a big storm, and the type of storm that it would take would be enough to do a lot more damage than just the gazebo.
Yeah, it does have a roof
We
on
did
it.
have that
During a
concern about the
hurricane.
respect and.
It
Yeah,
could
it is
handle
about
that,
concern.
you know, and,
And it does have walls, the front's open, but there are walls, but they're like kind of slatted. I don't know.
There's only one on the end, on the 12-foot end, because it was for shade. And it's flat, but there's no walls anywhere else.
So it lets air flow through,
It's all-
so it's not like gonna act like a giant.
Yeah,
sail.
okay.
Mosquito net.
Right.
Yeah, there's mosquito netting, but I mean, yes, technically speaking, a big enough wind gust could move it.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I don't think,
that would have wind gust is going to be, it's not just that gazebo that's
It's
gonna
gonna
rip
rip
it
it off
off.
the roof of the house.
It's gonna be big enough to do other damage. It's a big enough flood coming through, we'll move it, but it's gonna wash out the road too, you know,
I do
so.
think we should have the anchors on it though.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Again, there's no opposition to that. I wanna kind of, you know, be realistic about this.
Anchors in there that. Cut it flush, not remove it, so that's kind of what.
Yeah,
Okay, so do we someone wanna make a motion to approve the application?
I move that we approve the application.
Okay, and then let's, okay, and then Tom seconds. Why don't we add some conditions? So conditions of anchoring all four corners
all four corners of it.
with like a helical
So,
screw.
so hold on, you're not gonna be able to anchor this corner.
Right.
You're gonna be right in the wetlands. I recommend you anchor this corner and this corner.
The three corners furthest from the
well,
wetland.
Well, I,
what if not near the corner, just the edge of a floor joist coming down under it?
well, I just. there's
my
no
personal
way-
opinion. My personal opinion, I don't think you need to anchor it, but okay.
I just think if you wanna do anchors, I suggest the two corners. Because here, it's gonna be a tripping hazard.
Right,
And here, it's going to be in the wetlands. And two corners is going to hold this thing.
Those anchors can technically be underneath
that's fine.
when you build it. You can anchor underneath and run cables.
You could strap it from the inside. so you
Yeah,
don't
they're not-
see it.
We're not talking about me on the outside.
You don't need
can
a
put that
anchor
underneath
going for
next to the pylons, so you don't even see the anchors.
Oh, okay, I mean, that's fair. I didn't really think about that.
Right, yeah. That's what
I was thinking more of a,
I would do. I wouldn't want a trip hazard or anything like that, but that you're still anchoring the structure down.
yeah.
You know, even probably better because you're actually anchoring it, you know, right around that.
Yeah.
Why are we anchoring this thing to the ground? I'm confused.
The concern from, Kathy in her letter, is that a flood could lift it and float it downstream. And again, I don't disagree with that. I think that is possible, but it's gonna be such a significant flood to do that, that it's not just that gazebo that's gonna go anywhere. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but okay.
But, so your point's well taken, if you go straight down, yeah, you know, then.
On the inside of the
Yeah.
4x4s where they go down right next to the block.
There's $40 for 4. These are 16-inch anchors. I'm sure you can get them longer too.
So,
Okay, yeah, yeah, again, like, we're not opposed to the anchoring, I just, in my mind, I didn't want to be impacting this corner here and making a tripping hazard, but if we can avoid that, obviously.
So anchoring in two corners is one of the special conditions.
There are 2 quarters, that's special.
No removal or stuff.
And no removal of the existing stump, just cutting it flush with the ground. Any other special conditions? Bonds, do we think we need a bond amount? They're not bringing in any material or remove
Kathy doesn't even think so either.
And this is because of an action anyways.
Yeah.
The purpose of a bond is for us to go in and
Fix something.
fix something if somebody partially starts and then stops. They're doing this because of an
They're not
action.
really digging holes.
So no bond amount. Any other special conditions you think we need to set on it? Okay,
What type of roofing, is that shingles?
It's like.
Metal
it's
roof.
like-
Standing seam. Yeah, I'd seen the pictures of standing
Maybe
seam.
just handle it easily. Somewhat.
Any other discussion? So I have a motion, I have a second. Right? You wanna do
Chris
roll call?
moved to the second.
Tom?
I'm trying to get them through the frame.
Yep. So why don't we do roll call vote?
Doug Elliott,
Yes.
Lawrence Edwards, Michael Florio,
Aye.
Michael, we didn't hear you.
Mikey.
Oh, aye,
Uh,
sorry.
Tom Welch.
Yes.
Robert Corson,
Yes.
Chris Horvath,
Yes.
Scott Harley.
Not voting. Okay, so your application's approved.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Okay. Let's move
Thank you, Brian.
right along.
Eddie's back.
All right, yep, there's Eddie. Good
I'm
time,
back.
Eddie.
I'm back.
Moving on to agenda 5B.
You have WDO
Yep.
applications and endorsement.
Yep, 5B.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
I don't have either.
So no application. No enforcement?
No.
Okay.
Give me a moment to catch up.
Now we're on six.
I'm sorry, now we're on status correspondence. So I have correspondence that I give the sheriff commission, but you?
Nine.
Yes, you do. We have a couple of things. Just a reminder, the Connecticut Bar Association. Two people from the commission are going, at the cost of the town is paying for the registration fees.
Okay. Who's going?
Chris,
I'm
Chris,
actually going through the zoning, but I am gonna be attending.
Tom and I are.
yeah.
Is that the one that's held at Wesleyan?
Yeah,
It used to
Okay,
be-
that's a good one.
It used to be, but now it's virtual.
it's virtual now.
Oh, it's virtual,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm attending.
What we're doing is online.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it used to be at Wesleyan every year.
The zoning put me in, so I'm gonna be
Yeah.
attending it also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoning got, planning and zoning got their books delivered to the office. And yours are going to go to your homes, because that's the address you put down. We'll watch for it, because it should be getting.
It's in a big, it's about this big, so it'll be a heavy box.
It's not from Amazon.
Well, it's nice because it's a good reference guide. I mean, obviously, apply just the commissions you serve, but you're gonna be, it's a little overwhelming to get it. It's like, thick.
Okay, and also, I forwarded this on to you guys, the PAWG meeting, annual meeting's coming up, that's the Connecticut Association of Wetland Scientists. There's really not too much on the agenda for wetlands, it's mostly for the soil scientists.
I'm actually.
Now, if we've been to cause before, does that mean we're a member?
We're actually not a member, so if you wanna go, you can, but it would be at your own cost, and it would be the non-member cost.
Okay,
Like $100 or more.
right.
Yeah, but when you look at the not maybe you want to.
Yeah, the khaki
This
link
is
is
what-
more for commission
Yes.
members, but this is causes, and I like to take advantage of all the education. I need some of it for certification. Anyways, I continue my certification, but it's really mostly for soil scientists.
Yeah, tracking was very informative, I enjoyed that.
It was good.
But that's for commission members. So,
Well, you can look at the you can look at the agenda, see what's on it, and if you want to attend, that's up to you.
Thank you, Sherry.
And they got the River Cog having a website. Did you put that up?
That's from
a
planning and
Connecticut River.
zoning.
Yeah.
P and Z.
That was through P and Z.
Okay, yeah, because I guess Ed and I, the chairperson, for planning.
Oh, right,
And
right,
Ed
right,
is
right.
a member.
yeah,
First, we were appointed when it was not planning its own,
Right. Mhm.
so I'm still attending meetings.
Yeah, River Cot's
I
great.
might not go to that convention this time, tied up a little bit with the other.
So I'll talk about this under correspondence because it was correspondence from our town manager to me. So can I do that under correspondence?
I just know that you had responded to her.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, it's an
So, she's looking to hold, and I'll read her letter too, but she's basically looking to hold an ethics, training with all of the regulatory boards, so us, planning and zoning, planning board or zoning board of appeals, and maybe one other, I think that's really
I think
it.
it's those three, yeah.
It's really the regulatory boards, they're looking to do like an ethics training with us. So it would be our town attorney putting it on, but Michelle is looking for all the boards to basically be
That
represented.
count as training for the year?
No,
No, this would just be a refresher for everybody, but more so because there's so many new members on all these commissions.
So
and
every
they're all
time you get sworn
regulatory.
in, they give you an ethics clause, read, it's.
This would be more of a training, so I'm sure they'd talk about Robert's rules, they would talk about, well, when an application shows up in front of us. Then goes to planning and zoning, and you guys, members that are on both, how do you handle something like that? So she's looking to hold the training at our next meeting prior to it. So 6 o'clock next Tuesday meeting. It
well,
would be,
April 1,
so it would be just an hour training.
April?
April
Yep.
1st
Oh.
is your next regular meeting.
Oh.
So instead of 7, you come at 6. Training's an hour and then the meeting.
So it'd be the same day as our meeting?
Yep.
Yes.
Right here,
Okay.
we'll just be an hour early, the town attorney will talk to us for an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a special meeting.
It's an actual meeting, we have to hold it,
Because you have a forum.
Yeah,
alright.
it's a meeting, so it's a special meeting.
No, it's real, it's not a joke. So her email to me, and I'll just read it for transparency. Dear Scott, hope you're doing well. The town will be holding a code of ethics and conflict of interest training similar to the one recently attended by the town council. The council and I are committed to following best practices and ensuring the integrity of all town boards and commissions, particularly regulatory ones such as the IWC. I want to be clear that this training is not in response to any specific incident, but rather part of a broader effort to review and improve processes as needed, all under the guidance of the town's legal counsel. Additionally, while the town charter does not allow for an elected official to serve on up to 2 boards or commissions, this is not considered best practice. Since a charter revision is a significant undertaking that is not planned in the near future, this formal training is intended to educate those serving on elected or appointed roles educate those serving in elected or appointed roles about best practices and ethical responsibilities. No matter how an individual is placed to serve it, whether by election or appointment, all have an obligation to follow best practices and maintain the confidence of the community. So the goal of the training is to clarify roles and responsibilities, answer procedural questions, review our code of ethics and how it applies to decision making, and discuss perceptions of bias and how that may impact public trust. So it's really just a kind of ethics training.
Can I make a comment? I was the chairman of the town board of ethics for several years, and one thing that we, first of all, in the rule that defined it, this conflict of interest always had to be financial. And what we found is many times there was boards and commissions where people recused themselves, but would not leave the table. In other cases, people were using foul language or threatening language, pointing a finger at somebody. You watch what you say or I'll sue you. And these all came to us as a board of ethics. And unfortunately, we had to tell them, look, there's no financial impropriety here. It's just bad behavior. And so I suggested to the town that maybe we need not only the board of ethics, but maybe a code of conduct.
Yes,
Because the majority of things that came to us were not financial,
absolutely.
and they were all what I call boorish behavior or threatening behavior. So I don't know how this might be different. She doesn't mention financial impropriety.
No, but that would be a good question for the lawyer. So the lawyer's going to put together the presentation, give it to us, planning and zoning, get one, zoning board of appeals will get one. But she'd like to hold that at our next meeting. So, sounds like most people are okay, showing up an hour early. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Will we get an email?
You will, but Michelle wanted to know that we were gonna have full attendance, so it's good, yeah, she asked for, that in advance.
so it's a question if Mike and Eddie.
So are you guys, Mike and Eddie, are able to next month's meeting, just show up an hour early?
It's six.
Yeah. So let me ask you a
Yeah,
question. Let me ask you a question. I'm on planning and zoning also, so do I have to do both of these? Or is there two
Yeah.
different?
I'm gonna answer
Okay.
yes. All right. Trust me, yes.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I knew the answer right away on that.
okay.
So they're not that.
It won't be virtual, okay, so it won't be virtual, so if you guys aren't local, then just not.
I won't be.
able to
I won't be here. I'll be in Florida. I don't come back.
attend. Just attend the one at P and Z then.
Okay.
It's sure it's gonna be the exact same.
Well, based idea.
Eddie, will you be back, or will you speak for that? On the first,
Hey,
I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear us, Ed?
yes, you'll
He's
be
asked a
back.
question.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute, we can't hear you.
Oh, you're still muted.
There you go.
No, not
I
yet.
see the little red next.
Oh,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay, what's up, Larry?
You're gonna be able to be here at 6 o'clock on the 1st of April, right?
Will you
Yeah, I'll
be
be here.
back? Will you be in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Will you
They're
be
not
in
gonna have
Connecticut?
a Zoom call for this one. You have to be in person. Mike,
Yeah, I'll be
Florida.
back. I'm only going, I'm in Florida only for a week.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we'll just, so would you mind sending out a reminder when you submit the agenda? Or so for me, I'll forget that we gotta be here at 6.
We'll get two agendas next month, one for the special meeting and one for the regular meeting.
And one for the sidewalk.
Okay, yep.
I was referring to the one day.
Oh, okay.
All right, old business. So welcome our 2 new members. Congratulations, thank you.
Well,
Have
elevated member.
elevated members.
Bob is full of secrets.
New business, I don't have any new business. Anyone have anything?
You wanna read the
Oh,
certificate for?
yeah, we're sending Bert a thank you message, certificate of appreciation just for his years of service. I'll read it into the record. Clinton Inland Wetlands Commission is issuing this certificate to Bertram Schmitz for his outstanding service as a member and officer of the Clinton Inland Wetlands Commission from November of 2001 to January of 2025. So 24 members, 24 years he served. He was commission secretary from 2015 to 2017, vice chair from April to December of 2017, and then again from 18 to 2020. Bert had a high level of attendance as well as participation at meetings of the commission, and both as a member and an officer. During his tenure on the commission, he attended and completed continuing education courses, seminars related to the study of inland wetlands and conservation. Dated Clinton, Connecticut's 4th day of March 2025. I signed that tonight.
What, did he retire or did he just?
Yep,
Yes.
we've done 24 years is a good run.
I didn't know.
Yes.
Yes, very good.
So that's some new business. Chair's comments, I don't have any chair's comments, so with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
At 8:53.
Okay, do I have a second? Larry seconds, Tom, sorry.
Move to adjourn.
All those voting in favor, say aye.
All
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, bye. Thanks.
right, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Stay
Thanks,
safe.
guys.